Discover the heartwarming moment a broke dad buys diapers, an incredible CEO's amazing act of kindness. Jake stood paralyzed in the local supermarket, the chaotic allure of the bustling aisles fading into a blurred background. His chest tightened as he stared at the bright packages of diapers. Each price tag felt like a punch to his gut, reminding him of a reality he desperately wished to escape. Just a few weeks ago, he was juggling 2 jobs and barely scraping by, but now he faced losing even the basics for his precious daughter, Lily. Every moment spent caring for her was a reminder of the American dream he held so close yet seemed to slip further away. As families bustled around him, their laughter felt like a distant echo, taunting him. He clutched a single package of diapers, staring at the price with tears prickling his eyes. It was more than he could afford. A wave of shame washed over him. How had it come to this? The pride of a hard-working single father now felt like a heavy burden. He could almost hear the whispers of judgment around him, each echo saying he wasn't enough. Just then, through the sea of carts and chatter, a figure caught his eye. Sarah, the well-known CEO of a local charity organization, had walked into the aisle, her presence radiating warmth and confidence. Picking up supplies for an upcoming charity event, she paused, a look of concern etched on her face as she noticed Jake's silent struggle. For a moment, time stopped, and it was just the two of them. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice soft yet direct. The words hung in the air like a lifeline thrown to a sinking man. He felt vulnerable, exposed, but just as he opened his mouth to respond, his pride clamped down. He couldn't be the broke dad asking for a handout. Before he could retreat into his self-imposed shadows, Sarah suggested temporary work that might help him get back on his feet. Her offer felt like a glimmer of hope but also an unbearable humiliation. He wrestled with the weight of pride blurring his judgment. It was one thing to struggle alone, it was another to admit he needed help. As he contemplated her offer, memories of his estranged mother drifted into his mind, her sudden reappearance and harsh criticisms about his choices, making him feel even more tangled in confusion. The tension between wanting to prove himself and embracing an outstretched hand was maddening. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The weight of public opinion felt like chains tightening around his chest after a public misunderstanding warped his character. What had once been kindness directed freely now morphed into whispers that painted him as less deserving. Every judgment felt like another whispered blow. He was battling his own demons while trying to be a dad who had it all together. Faced with his darkest fears, Jake stood there, heart racing. Could he truly compromise himself for survival? Would taking Sarah's offer redefine him or weaken his sense of self? In that electric moment of uncertainty, everything hinged on the choice he was about to make. Would he leap into the unknown and trust in the compassion of a stranger, or would he let the oppressive grip of pride cast him into isolation? The stakes were impossibly high, and as his feelings swirled inside like a storm, the next choice would carve his path forward or leave him lost in shadows. In the heated silence of the supermarket aisle, Jake's heart thundered in his chest. He held the package of diapers tightly, its weight a reminder of his mounting responsibilities. He felt Sarah's presence beside him, her patient gaze encouraging him to fight through the tension choking him. He took a shaky breath, triggering a crucial decision within. I need the work," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Relief washed over him the moment the words left his mouth, melting away the oppressive weight of his pride. He glanced at Sarah, who broke into a warm smile that reached her eyes. "Great! We can definitely use someone reliable, especially as we prepare for next week's fundraiser," she said, her enthusiasm slicing through his uncertainty. "And don't worry, it's flexible and will give you time for Lily." Jake felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the opportunity he needed. He could feel the impending pressure in his chest begin to lift as he imagined the possibility of earning just enough to stabilize his life. Yet, another part of him screamed in protest, a nagging voice that questioned his worthiness, echoing his mother's judgmental words. They stood there a moment longer, enveloped in the bustle of the store. Sarah reached for the package of diapers, her fingers brushing against his. "I know it's tough, but you're not alone in this. One step at a time, okay?" With a nod, Jake let go of the diapers, letting Sarah place them in her cart. The warmth in her gesture deepened his sense of gratitude. Suddenly, each item on the shelves felt less daunting. He didn't have to carry the burden alone anymore. Over the next few days, work came with its own challenges. Jake juggled volunteering and caring for Lily, often feeling exhausted. Yet, as he engaged with the charity events, he began to recognize the strength in community. He learned quickly that every task pulled him away from isolation, each moment spent surrounded by others shifting his perspective. During one particularly busy evening, as he helped organize supplies for a community meal, he caught Sarah's eye. She appeared amidst the chaos, her laughter infectious as she shared stories with the volunteers. Jake leaned against a stack of boxes, taking a moment to absorb the atmosphere. The warmth of laughter around him filled him with a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in a long time. "Jake!" Sarah waved him over. "Come join us for a moment." He hesitated, feeling that old familiar sting of doubt. "I'm fine here, just organizing nonsense." "You're part of this family now," she insisted, her voice firm yet inviting. With a deep breath, Jake stepped forward. They gathered in a circle, hands in the middle, ready to cheer on their mission. The act felt surprisingly empowering. In that moment, Jake realized that this was more than just a job, it was a chance for transformation. Perhaps he could redefine himself in ways he had never imagined. The energy around him buzzed with possibility, and he began to see that his story could change. As they wrapped up for the night, Lily's face flashed in his mind. She would need to see this side of him, the community man, rather than the struggling dad lost in shadows. But as his heart swelled with newfound hope, a troubling thought grounded him. What if this newfound optimism faded? What if the past came back to haunt him? The voices he fought against were still there, lurking in the corners of his mind. And as he left the event, a chilling reminder came creeping back, whispering that he was different now, yet still so lost. Would he be able to rise above the fears that gripped him, or could this new journey unravel in ways he never expected? The road ahead was uncertain, and with a heart still racing, Jake wondered what it would take to finally silence those voices for good. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting patterns on the floor that danced alongside the morning shadows. Jake stirred, feeling the warmth of a new day, yet the weight in his heart still lingered. As he reached for his phone, he saw the message from Sarah reminding him about their community fundraising meeting later that evening. Today would be different. He could feel it in his bones. Taking a moment to gather his thoughts, he reflected on the moments of joy he had felt recently. Each laugh shared, each second spent among people who genuinely cared about the community reminded him why he had decided to take this leap. After a quick breakfast of toast and juice for both him and Lily, Jake packed her favorite toys into the rented car seat. His hands moved mechanically as he checked off what he needed for the day, but his mind was racing with possibilities. He and Lily would join Sarah for the meeting, and maybe, just maybe, he'd share some of his ideas on how to improve their outreach. The thought made his heartbeat quicken. The meeting took place in the same community center where they had held the meal prep. The energy in the room buzzed with anticipation. Familiar faces surrounded him, smiling and exchanging ideas. Jake felt his nervousness dissipate as he took a seat near Sarah, who greeted him with a friendly nod. "Glad you made it," she whispered, her eyes twinkling with encouragement. As the meeting commenced, the room transformed into a space alive with creativity and purpose. Ideas flew around like confetti. Jake felt a twinge of courage rising within him. He wanted to share, to contribute, to be heard. When it was his turn to speak, an unfamiliar confidence surged through him. "I believe we can reach more families if we use social media effectively," he proposed, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. The room quieted, and a few curious heads turned his way. "I mean, everyone's on their phones these days, right? We can share stories and updates about what we do, the impact we have." To his amazement, heads began to nod in agreement. Sarah beamed at him, and for a moment, all those nagging doubts faded away. Maybe he really was finding his place amidst this community, Jake continued, unafraid now, feeding off the energy surrounding him. After he wrapped up, applause erupted softly but genuinely, and a couple of volunteers even approached him afterward, eager to help make his idea come to life. After the meeting, Sarah called him aside. "You were amazing tonight. I knew you had it in you," she said, her voice vibrant. The warmth of her praise enveloped him like a favorite blanket, filling the cracks in his self-doubt. As they chatted, Jake couldn't help but look over at Lily, who was busy playing with some other kids. She was laughing, her little head thrown back, joy radiating off her like sunlight. In that moment, Jake understood something profound. The way he felt today was not just about him. It was for her, too. He was learning to fight for a future where he could be the dad she needed. As the day drew to a close, the laughter and chatter followed them outside, mingling with the brisk evening air. Yet, just as Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him, something unexpected occurred. A voice cut through the lightheartedness. "Look who it is, Mr. Community Man." A familiar sneer echoed behind him, and the warmth that had bloomed inside him began to freeze as he turned slowly to face it. Jake's stomach dropped. It was Tom, his old friend turned challenger, a friend who never let him forget who he used to be. In that instant, Jake felt the shadows he had thought he'd outrun creeping back in, threatening to cloud his newly brightened world. "Thought you couldn't get more pathetic," Tom continued, his tone dripping with disdain. Jake clenched his fists, heart pounding. How would he react? Would he slip back beneath the weight of his past, or could he learn to stand tall? The choice loomed before him, and he felt like he was at a crossroads once again. Could he confront his past and embrace the future he started to build, or would Tom's words pull him back into the shadows he was finally learning to escape? Jake's heart raced as he faced Tom, memories flooding back, times when laughter meant avoidance, and confidence was masked by heavy shadows. The sneer on Tom's face was as familiar as it was unwelcome. It dredged up the parts of Jake he thought he had buried, the insecurities that slipped just beneath his skin. With a deep breath, Jake fought to steady the tremor in his voice. "You don't know anything about me now," he said, attempting to keep his tone even. "I'm doing my best for my daughter." "Your best?" Tom laughed, a cold, hollow sound that sliced through the warmth of the evening. "What? By playing house with the neighborhood? You think anyone takes you seriously?" Jake felt bile rise in his throat. He glanced at Sarah, who watched anxiously from a short distance. She mouthed the word "deep breath," and it reminded him of Lily's laughter just moments ago. Those carefree moments were worth standing up for, worth defending even against Tom's cruel jabs. "You think this is a game, don't you?" Jake said, taking a step forward. "This is about families. It's about real people who need help." Tom's expression hardened. "And you think you're their savior? You'll always be a loser. You'll never change." With every word, Tom chipped away at Jake's resolve, but somewhere deep inside, a sliver of strength ignited. He could feel the support of the community behind him, could see their hopeful faces. He wouldn't let one voice, especially not that one, define him. "Maybe I'm a loser in your book," Jake retorted, surprising even himself with the conviction in his words. "But I've got a chance to create something good. I have a daughter who believes in me. And I won't let someone like you drag me down." The silence that followed was deafening. Even some other attendees glanced over, curiosity shimmering in their eyes. For a moment, it felt like the whole world hung in balance, waiting for Tom's next move. Then, just as quickly, Tom scoffed, throwing his hands in the air. "Whatever, man. You can wear your little hero mask all you want. Just don't about your past catching up to you." Jake felt Tom's words prickle against his skin as he turned and walked away, but he stood his ground. The familiar weight was still there, but it felt different now. He was no longer the same man who would cower in the face of challenge. He was a dad, a part of this community, with a voice worth hearing. As the night deepened and people began to mingle again, Sarah approached him, her eyes filled with admiration. "Jake, that was powerful. Seriously, you stood up for yourself." "I don't know if I really stood up," he replied, the adrenaline still pumping through his veins. "But I'm trying. I'm trying to change." A flicker of pride crept into Sarah's gaze. "You're already changing, Jake."
You just need to believe in it, too. Jake nodded, soaking in the warmth of her encouragement.
Lost in the moment, he turned to see Lily still playing. She was full of joy, and that was all he needed to push forward. Despite the shadows that lingered, he felt lighter. But just as Jake settled into this newfound clarity, he heard the sound of footsteps approaching, this time, softer, more uncertain. He turned to see a woman, a stranger, with a nervous smile. She had been watching the confrontation and looked unsure of what to say.
Hi, I overheard some of that.
I couldn't help but admire how you stood up to him. I'd like to help with your project, she said hesitantly.
Jake's heart thudded. Was this an opening, a sign that he wasn't alone in this battle?
As he exchanged a smile with her, he realized his journey was just beginning. Who else might believe in him, lingered in his mind as he took a step toward the woman, ready to embrace whatever was next.
Jake's mind raced with possibilities.
The stranger's hesitant smile held promise, the kind of warmth he didn't expect from someone who had just witnessed his vulnerable moment. It emboldened him, stirring something alive within him that had long felt dormant.
"What is your name?" he asked, offering a genuine smile in return.
"Emily," she replied, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear.
"I've seen what you're trying to do for the community. I think it's really inspiring."
Jake felt his chest swell a little.
"Thanks, Emily. That means a lot."
"We're just trying to make things better for our kids."
She nodded thoughtfully. "Do you have a plan for your project?"
With enthusiasm bubbling up, Jake began explaining his vision: community events, workshops for parents, and support systems that could help families struggling like his own had. The more he spoke, the more he could feel his passion igniting. "I believe every family deserves a chance," he finished, looking directly at her. "And if we can work together, maybe we can create a space where those chances are real."
Emily's eyes sparkled with interest. "I love that. I've got some connections. Local businesses might be willing to donate supplies or help sponsor events. I'd be more than happy to get started."
Jake felt his heart leap.
"Really? That would be wonderful."
The vision he had, once clouded with doubt and fear, began to clear with a sense of direction. Maybe this was the breakthrough he needed. As they continued talking, Jake felt the earlier tension fade. It was refreshing to share ideas with someone who believed in the possibility of change. He caught sight of Sarah across the park and waved her over, eager to introduce the two women.
"Hey, this is Emily. She wants to help with the project," he announced, excitement lacing his voice. "Really? That's awesome,"
Sarah chimed in, her smile bright.
"The more, the merrier."
Emily smiled, and Jake saw sparks of something more, a connection that felt genuine and warm, rooted in a shared vision.
They discussed ideas late into the evening, forming plans and exchanging contact information.
It felt good to collaborate, to build something important together, but as the night grew a little darker, Jake caught a glimpse of Lily running towards him.
Her laughter echoed in the air, pure and full of joy.
He squatted down as she approached and wrapped his arms around her.
"Daddy!"
she exclaimed, her face lighting up.
"Did you win your fight?"
Jake chuckled softly, feeling a lump form in his throat.
"I'm winning every day, kiddo. Just trying to make things better for us, you know?" "I know,"
she replied, leaning into him with all her little might. In that moment, Jake realized he would fight for Lily's laughter, for Emily's support, and for a community that needed hope. They had faced the shadows together, and for the first time, they might finally step out into the light. Just then, Jake's phone buzzed with a message. He pulled it out and glanced at the screen, his breath catching in his throat. It was an email from Tom's father, someone he hadn't heard from in ages, wanting to reconnect.
"What did your past just throw at you now?"
Jake muttered under his breath, eyes narrowing slightly, but he felt stronger now. Whatever challenges the message contained, he would face them head-on, with the clarity he had found here tonight.
"Hey Emily," he started, shifting his gaze back to his new ally.
"I think we should meet again soon to discuss next steps." And as Jake planned for tomorrow's meeting, his heart braced for the turbulence that lay ahead.
Would the remnants of his past still have a hold on him, or was he finally ready to silence those shadows for good?
Jake stared at his phone, the email from Tom's father still flashing on the screen. The warmth from earlier felt distant now, like a fire dwindling in the chill of night. Memories of Tom and the messy fallout rushed back, painful whispers of betrayal and regret. He tried to shake them off, squeezing Lily a little tighter in his embrace. "Daddy, can we go home?" she asked, looking up at him with those innocent eyes that always managed to pull him back from dark thoughts. "Yeah, kiddo. Let's get you settled." He stood up, feeling the weight of responsibility mix with the uncertainty still hanging in the air. Jake turned to Sarah and Emily. "I'll touch base with you both tomorrow?" "Absolutely," Emily replied, giving a nod of encouragement. "I believe in this." He appreciated her belief, even as the ghost of his past lurked just beyond the trees. "Thanks. I really mean that." As they walked home, Jake glanced down at Lily, who was humming a cheerful tune under her breath. The world around them was fading into twilight, but her vibrant spirit cut through the shadowy doubts creeping back in. "Hey Lily," he said, trying to reignite the night's earlier energy. "Would you like to help me bake cookies tomorrow?" Her eyes lit up. "Can we make chocolate chip? With sprinkles? Please?" Of course, with sprinkles, Jake smiled. The thought of baking with her was something he could cling to, something good and real that grounded him amidst uncertainties. They reached home, and Jake helped Lily wash her hands before she raced to the playroom. As he watched her dart off, the weight of that email grew heavier in his mind. What could Tom's father possibly want? There was so much hurt and distance, and Jake had no idea if he was ready to confront it. A knock on the door pulled him from his thoughts, and he opened it to find Sarah standing there, her expression earnest. "Hey, I just wanted to check on you." "I'm fine," Jake said instantly, though he felt anything but. "Just contemplating life, I guess." "I saw your face when you read that email. What if he's just trying to reach out?" She prodded gently, stepping into the warmth of the living room. "There's a lot of water under the bridge, Sarah." Jake shook his head slowly, feeling the memories rise again. "I don't know if I can just brush it away." "Sometimes facing your past is the only way to move into your future," she said softly. It was a familiar line, one that reminded Jake of the long path he had walked. With a heavy sigh, Jake sank onto the couch. What if it's not worth revisiting? Then say no. But what if it is? Sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the best outcomes. Her gaze searched his face for a hint of hope, a glimmer of resolve. He considered it, the hope tucked away deep inside him. "I don't know, but maybe, just maybe, I've got to try." A cautious smile began to break on Sarah's face. "You've got this, Jake. You're doing amazing things for Lily, for the community. You can handle this too." With his heart racing, Jake found himself nodding slowly. "Okay," he finally said. "I'll respond. But I'll do it on my own terms." "Good. You're not alone in this," Sarah said with a reassuring pat on his shoulder before heading for the door. As she left, Jake felt a mix of fear and determination. He wasn't just a dad, he was a man ready to take back control of his narrative. Later that night, after tucking Lily into bed, Jake sat down at the kitchen table, the glow of the lamp illuminating the darkness that had felt so suffocating not long ago. He opened that email, fingers trembling slightly. Then he paused, staring at the blank response screen. Could he truly face this? Before he knew it, he began typing. With every word he wrote, the shadows began to shift, as if the light was finally seeping in. But with each keystroke, a new question arose. What if this message opened a door to old wounds? Would he find healing, or just more heartache? As he hit send, Jake's heart thudded in his chest, echoing the uncertainty of what was to come. Would he be able to close the door on his past, or was this just the beginning of another struggle? The night closed in around him, heavy with unanswered questions and a flickering hope. Jake knew the journey ahead would be anything but easy. But he could feel the stirrings of courage within him, ready to break free. And, as he turned off the light, he realized change was just around the corner and it had a name. Jake woke to the sound of Lily's giggles. The sun streamed through the curtains, casting playful patterns on the walls of her bedroom. He stretched and smiled, the warmth of the morning dissolving the chill of the night before. Today was cookie day, and her excitement was contagious. "Daddy! Look what I made!" Lily rushed into the kitchen, brandishing a paper with bright colors. It was a drawing of two people, one tall and one small, with huge smiles. "That's beautiful, kiddo," Jake said, ruffling her hair. He felt a sense of normalcy wash over him, a deliciously simple joy that reminded him what really mattered. As he set the ingredients out on the counter, he tried to push thoughts of the email to the back of his mind. Between measuring flour and mixing chocolate chips, they laughed and danced around the kitchen, the air filling with the sweet promise of freshly baked cookies. The smile on Lily's face lit up every corner of Jake's heart. He couldn't help but feel grateful for this moment of clarity. "Do you think Tom would like these cookies?" Lily asked, her eyes filled with innocence. Jake's breath hitched. "Well, sweetie, maybe." She seemed to catch his hesitation. "Daddy, will he come to our bake-off?" she inquired hopefully. Jake realized he couldn't let his past cast shadows on her joy. "Maybe someday, but for now, let us just focus on making them the best cookies ever." "Yeah!" Lily shouted, pumping her fist in the air. As the cookies baked, the familiar aroma wafted through the house, filling it with warmth and comfort. Jake watched Lily as she bounced around, standing on her little tiptoes, and he felt an ache of fear creeping in again. There was so much joy here, but he knew the shadows weren't far behind. After the cookies cooled, they sat down to enjoy their creations, their laughter echoing off the walls. Every crumb of chocolate seemed to melt away any tension. In that moment, life was simple and perfect, but as he watched Lily's face, his mind darted back to the email from Tom's father. Did he have the strength to face the past? The fleeting joy was overshadowed by that lingering doubt. He had taken a step, but every step into the light seemed fraught with peril. Once they finished the cookies, Jake's phone buzzed, pulling him from the moment. He glanced at the screen and saw a new email notification. His stomach dropped. Was it Tom's father again, or maybe something worse? Lily bounded over, tugging his shirt. "Can I read it?" "Hold on, sweet pea," he said, taking a deep breath as he clicked open the message. It was a response from Tom's dad, and Jake's heart raced as he read it. Each sentence felt heavy, like it contained a weight he couldn't quite lift. Just then, the doorbell rang. Jake shot a glance at Lily, wondering how to balance the uncertainty with her innocent expectations. "Do you want to see who it is, Munchkin?" he asked, feigning confidence. "Yes," she squealed, her eyes wide with excitement. Jake's heart was racing now for other reasons. As he opened the door, he was greeted, not by someone he expected, but by a familiar face that sent a jolt through him. "Hey Jake," the figure stood there, unable to hide the nervousness in his gaze. In that moment, Jake felt the weight of the world shift again. Would this encounter bring another wave of heartache, or had the time apart fostered understanding? His body tensed, the resolve he built so carefully beginning to shake. "Tom?" Jake breathed, utterly unprepared for what came next. Would this be the chance to heal old wounds, or would it just open a floodgate of unresolved feelings? Only time would tell. Jake's heart pounded as he tried to process Tom's sudden appearance. Memories surged back, sharp and vivid, reminiscent of laughter shared and promises made. The walls around him felt thinner, almost fragile under the weight of the unspoken words hanging in the air. "Can I come in?" Tom asked, his voice almost a whisper. Yeah. "Sure," Jake replied, forcing a smile as he stepped aside to let him in. Lily scampered past Jake, excitedly tugging on Tom's sleeve. "Look! We made cookies!" Tom's eyes softened a fraction, and he smiled at her. "Wow, those look amazing." The innocence in Lily's enthusiasm seemed to lighten the tension just a bit. She raced back to the kitchen, her laughter echoing like music as she prepared to show off their batch of cookies. Jake stood frozen for a moment, wondering how to bridge the chasm that had grown between him and Tom. "What brings you here?" he asked, trying to keep the conversation light, masking the fear bubbling beneath the surface. Tom shifted his weight. "I got your email. I wanted to talk." Jake exhaled slowly. He remembered the contents of that message all too well. The guilt surged again, guilt for what had happened, and for the impact it had on all their lives. "Okay," he replied, gesturing towards the living room. "Why don't we sit?" As they settled on the couch, Jake felt the heavy air press down on them. Memories began to intertwine with unspoken truths. "How's Lily?" Tom began, his voice softer now as he glanced down the hallway, where Lily was frosting a cookie. "She is good," Jake replied, warmth spreading through him at the thought of his daughter. "Growing fast. She has got big plans for today's cookie bake-off." Tom chuckled, but the sound was tinged with sadness. "She really is something special." "Yeah," Jake murmured, looking straight into Tom's eyes. "You missed a lot." Silence enveloped them, thick and heavy. Jake's stomach twisted as he waited, anxiously searching for the right words. He could feel Tom's uncertainty, the tension of past hurts ready to claw their way out. Do you ever think Tom's voice trailed off, and he seemed to consider his words carefully? Do you ever think about what happened? How it changed everything? Jake clenched his fists, a surge of anger mixing with the regret. Every single day. His voice was steady, but his insides were churning. Lily deserves better. She deserves a family that isn't broken. I know. Tom's urgency underscored their emotional tightrope. That's why I came. I was wrong, and I want to make things right. I want to be a part of her life again. Just like that? Jake retorted, his heart racing. You think you can just waltz back in and everything will be fine? Listen, I know I messed up, Tom responded, his expression earnest. But I've realized so much since our last conversation. There's a whole lot of regret, but I want to change. For her. Jake found himself at a crossroads, teetering between anger and a glimmer of hope. Could he allow Tom back into their lives? The memory of their shared laughter resurfaced, clashing with the pain of what had happened. Lily deserves to know her family, Tom continued, and I'm ready to step up. I want to be better for her. As the words hung in the air, Jake felt a flicker of possibility spark in his chest. But was it enough? Would he dare to trust Tom again? Just then, Lily burst into the room, cheeks smeared with frosting. You two are still talking? Come on, I need an official taste tester. Jake exchanged a glance with Tom, the moment hanging between them like a fragile thread. Could this be the beginning of mending what had been broken? As he watched his daughter bounce excitedly, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the brick walls he had built were on the verge of crumbling. Maybe today would hold more than just cookies. Maybe today, they could finally take the first steps toward healing, but just then, Jake's phone buzzed again, pulling him away from the moment. The new email notification illuminated the screen, and his heart sank. What now? Would this a message spark hope, or would it lead him deeper into uncertainty? Only one way to find out. Jake's heart raced as he unlocked his phone, his breath catching in his throat. The screen lit up with an email from his boss, the subject line written in bold, urgent, we need to discuss your position. He replayed the words in his head, feeling the weight press down harder than ever. He shifted his gaze back to Tom, who was still looking at him, a mix of hope and fear painted on his face. Just moments ago, they were talking about Lily, about the laughter that once filled their lives. Now, everything felt suspended, like they were stuck between past mistakes and an uncertain future. Jake? Tom's voice broke through the silence. You okay? The question hung in the air. Here he was, wrapped up in thoughts of job insecurity while their personal lives were about to unfold in front of them. Yeah, just some work stuff. Jake forced a smile, unsure if he was fooling anyone. Lily, oblivious to the rising tension, beamed as she walked back in with a plate piled high with cookies. Look! You have to try one. Her joy was infectious, and a genuine smile broke through Jake's worry. I will, I promise, he said, taking a cookie and pretending to be engrossed in its flavor. It was hard to focus, though. He wanted to embrace the moment, but anxiety gnawed at him. Tom stared at Jake like a dog waiting to see if it will be scolded or praised. I really am sorry, he finally said, his voice laced with sincerity. Leaving, it was the biggest mistake of my life.
I thought different things mattered.
Jake crushed the cookie in his hands, feeling frustration boiling inside.
What mattered then, Tom?
Because it certainly wasn't tea family.
Tom's face fell. I know, and I can understand if you hate me for that. But I want to make things right. I want to help raise her.
In that moment, Jake's phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Lily's school.
It was about an upcoming parents' evening where they discuss student progress.
The pang of his job worries faded momentarily, replaced by the warm realization that this was a chance and opportunity to share Lily's life with someone who might actually want to be there.
Tom, Jake said, his voice steadier now. If I agree to this, if I let you back in, it's going to take time.
You have to understand, trust doesn't just rebuild itself overnight.
I know, Tom replied, his eyes earnest. I'm ready for that.
I can start slow, whatever it takes. Lily squealed in delight, taking a cookie for herself.
This is gonna be the best cookie bake-off ever.
As her laughter echoed once again, Jake glanced over at Tom. The flicker of hope they sparked felt fragile yet alive. Maybe, just maybe, they could piece this back together. But in the back of his mind lingered the email and his job.
How could he focus on family when uncertainty loomed over him?
Jake took a deep breath and turned to Tom, about to voice his thoughts when Lily chimed in brightly, "Can we make a giant cookie next?" Jake looked to Tom and then back to his daughter, who was now hopping with excitement. The decision hung on the edge of his tongue.
Could they truly form a family again?
Just as Jake opened his mouth to speak, a loud knock reverberated through the front door, slicing through the moment of connection.
Who could that be?
He felt the tension spike again. The shift in the atmosphere was palpable.
What had he been expecting? Would this interruption challenge everything they had just begun to build?
Jake's heart sank as he turned towards the door. It suddenly felt like their fragile moment of connection was being threatened, tossed aside like grains of sand slipping through fingers. As Lily rushed to answer the door, Jake exchanged a glance with Tom, an unspoken worry that this could be another obstacle in the delicate rebuilding of their relationship.
Who is it? Tom asked softly, shifting slightly in his seat, as if the answer could change everything. Just a sec.
Lily squealed, her excitement palpable. Jake felt the nostalgia swirl around the room, a gentle reminder of how moments like these used to be filled with joy, not uncertainty. As Lily pulled the door open, the vibrant smile on her face faltered just a little. Jake held his breath, anticipation mingling with anxiety as he awaited the reveal.
It was Sarah, her expression brightening the doorway like a beam of sunshine.
"Hey there.
Sorry to interrupt,"
she called out cheerfully, her presence invigorating the air.
"I thought I'd check in and see how the bake-off is going." "Sarah."
Jake breathed, relief washing over him.
"It's great to see you." "Hi, Miss Sarah." Lily chimed, pulling Sarah into a warm hug.
There was something magical about her spirit, pushing the shadows away and replacing them with light, even if just for a moment.
"I just brought some extra sprinkles." Sarah held up a small container with beaming pride.
What's a cookie bake-off without an explosion of colors? Jake couldn't help but smile, heart swelling with gratitude for her unwavering support. Tom, too, seemed to relax a bit, sensing a familiar camaraderie amongst the three of them.
"We were just talking about what did I miss?"
Sarah interrupted, her curiosity bubbling over like the freshly baked cookies cooling on the counter. Jake felt an internal tension release. A little relatable warmth was wrapping around their little assembly, serving to fortify the hope they had momentarily regained.
"Maybe we were just discussing the potential of making a giant cookie?"
Jake ventured, throwing a hopeful glance at Tom, nudging him to embrace the lightness of the moment.
"A giant cookie?" Sarah's eyes sparkled. "Count me in. We can definitely do that."
In moments, they shifted to the center of their small kitchen collection.
They laughed as they poured flour and sugar into a mixing bowl.
Lily delightedly shouted out ideas for how the giant cookie could be decorated like a magical wonderland full of chocolate hills and rainbow sprinkles. Through the cooking chaos, Jake felt something inside him shifting. The warmth radiating from the small group felt dangerously close to a family, an intimate space he hadn't known he needed where forgiveness edged closer and connections mended slowly, together.
Okay, I think we need 3 eggs.
Lily said, running to the fridge, her tiny feet pattering on the tiles.
As they cracked eggs with laughter, Jake took a moment to survey the scenario unfolding before him.
Light-hearted chatter filled the kitchen as he found himself leaning more into Sarah's presence, more willing to acknowledge Tom and their little circle of chaos. "Jake," Tom said lightly, wiping frosting from his fingers.
"I appreciate that you're giving me a chance. I didn't expect to just show up and have everything be perfect. I know trust needs time."
"Yeah, it does," Jake replied, fighting the waves of emotion rising.
He thought of Lily and the laughter surrounding them. But maybe this is the start of something new. For both of you.
Sarah turned her head sharply.
"What's next for you, Jake? You're getting involved with the community, but have you thought of taking next steps?"
They paused, and Jake was acutely aware of his tangled thoughts about his job uncertainty.
"I'm figuring that out," he replied slowly. "It's hard, but I have to believe things can get better." Just then, Lily came back, holding her arms out wide as if inviting everyone to join in.
"We can make it the size of the counter.
Let us do it."
Her enthusiasm was infectious. In that moment, a thought pierced through all the lingering doubts. Maybe facing the future didn't mean walking away from uncertainty, but rather leaning into it, surrounded by the precious few who truly believed in each other. It felt liberating.
He wasn't just a dad, he was part of a community, reimagining what it meant to build a family, one sprinkled with love, laughter, and a commitment to authenticity, no matter how tangled everything else felt. As they fashioned the dough, mixing in sprinkles while the giant cookie spread across the counter, Jake's heart lifted.
"You know," Tom said, "I can help with the fundraising. I've learned the hard way how valuable community is. I'd love to be a part of yours."
"Really?" Jake couldn't help but smile. There it was, a connection, a truce forged in the heart of chaos.
"Yeah," Tom said, sincerity in his voice.
"I'd love to be involved if you'll let me." Lily giggled, "You can work with Mr. Community Man." Jake chuckled, letting the mirror of their laughter echo. It wasn't just about cookies. This was an opportunity, each layer of frosting representing a choice.
Could they truly knit a new narrative together, threaded with laughter and resilience? As the giant cookie baked, Jake found his worries slowly fade away, at least for now. They shared stories and created memories that day, weaving the fabric of a newfound family with each sprinkle that rained over the dough. Just as they pulled the giant cookie from the oven and watched it rise, Jake realized that this was his moment. He could rebuild both the past and the future alongside the people whose belief shone as brightly as the golden cookie itself. And as the laughter swirled amidst the warm scent of fresh cookies, Jake felt a gentle promise ignite within. Together, they could create something truly magical. For every shadow that had once threatened to hold him down, he now knew, a community built in love would always shine through. This was just the beginning, and he wouldn't trade it for anything. You need to subscribe now to keep up with the next exclusive stories of transformation and hope. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm, and comment your thoughts and feelings about Jake's incredible journey. Share this powerful message with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your actions matter.